Okay, so just I'll let you guys go again because again it's my pick, but just want to say that the way we get from The Hired Hand 1971 to The Lusty Men 1951,
Two.
um, two, 52, right? Um, is that after watching that film, The Hired Hand, I Googled it some more, read some more articles, and thought, okay, what goes with this? Because I really want to pick it. So I Googled feminist westerns, and I watched two or three films before I came across this one, and I thought this was a worthy double bill. So
I
I
uh
thought
I just
Star
want to
Power, what
mention
does it look like?
yeah,
I,
right.
I just want to mention up front that I mentioned Tombstone in the last review. Robert Mitchum is the narrator of Tombstone.
That's
Like
right.
that's
I mean, it's funny, like on paper, this is a perfectly serviceable, this is a sports movie.
Mhm.
Instead of
Yeah.
baseball, it's rodeo, or instead of
Mhm.
car racing, it's a rodeo.
Yep.
I mean, yes, there are endless scenes that made me cringe because, rodeos from the animal standpoint aren't very much fun, although I did kind of like it when, occasionally one of the cowboys got stomped.
Whoa,
But but
man.
Well, you do have it coming if you jump on the back of
star
the
power between Mitchum and Susan Hayward. I mean, like just
God, she's so good.
radiate.
Yeah.
They
She
radiate
is
on everything.
so good.
Yeah, she holds
And
down the film in a lot of ways.
and it's
Also,
funny
she
because
died at like
That's why it's a double feature.
57.
when you look at the
He's what?
She died at like 57.
Yeah.
Like
didn't she get the Oscar for, what was it, I Want to Live, I think it was called?
I
That was a
think
couple
so,
years
yeah.
later than this, and that was
Yeah.
her best film. It was amazing.
But
Uh-huh.
you're going, well, there's so many things I'm thinking about as I'm watching this. One of which is, look at what leading men used to look like.
Oh,
Neither
yeah.
one of
Yeah.
these two guys is really in shape.
No,
This guy's got terrible teeth. Like, these are movie stars, though.
Yep.
And-
Yep.
Remember that there's a line in that MST3K about it was the era of the doughy male actor.
well, but with one
Were
eyebrow,
they saying that about Mitchell specifically?
Yeah, I think they were actually.
with one eyebrow, like Mitchum, just like, I mean, like, ah, man, like, I just totally get it. Like,
Well,
look
yeah,
at-
that's the look at he's Mitchum is the whole package. It's like, this guy. He's just he holds the film down for the first 15 minutes by himself.
Yeah.
And
Kind of.
everyone, even though he's not the most affable guy, you get to care about what he's going, and
But that's always Mitchum's stick is that, there's this sort of menace, there's this coldness, but he's charming at the same time.
4 years before Night of the Hunter.
Yeah, right?
So
On my short list.
He was great. And I think, although Susan Hayward, I thought did a great job. She was, camera loves her. She's got great angles. There's a little bit of that Nicholas Ray's doing a little bit of that kind of peekaboo thing with her sometimes. Like, she's in the shower, woo woo, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
That scene's great though.
Yeah,
It is a
scene's
funny
great.
scene.
The dynamics, you can tell they're pausing for laughs in the audience. They probably got it.
Well,
but,
and like, oh, are you in here with a lady? Yeah. Well, I'm gonna take her that towel, and then she freaks out. It's like, that's not.
Because it wasn't the
so-and-so.
lady he thought it was going
Right.
to be. But it's a
It's
funny
like-
scene. It's clever.
Having said that, I think, and this is like, it's probably an unpopular idea, that notion, I think she's a little miscast. She is a brassy New Yorker, and her accent sometimes comes out. Doesn't sound anything like all of her co-stars, like especially the female co-stars.
But maybe that's why she's so. Maybe that's why she's so different from all of the other women involved. Like, she was happy with renting the house and working on the farm and all of that stuff, because that's sort of the idyllic East Coast idea of what the West is, like
type.
But I see Scott's point in that her little monologue about growing up without a home, living in tents, and being a migrant worker on farms is maybe a little bit hard to believe when you look at her.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
She's a little posh.
Okay,
right?
okay.
She's a little
Hollywood system kind of thing. That's the problem.
Okay,
right?
hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. We can't make the comparison between movie stars and real people.
This is true.
At that point in time, like, no, Natasha Romanoff did not grow up in a fucking Russian orphanage. Like, that didn't happen.
It didn't happen?
Like, no.
Oh, okay.
Like it's just not like I don't think you can say look at her as but I mean I understand Scott's point of view about the personality type. I just think there's ways you can square that circle that I think work. The movie doesn't go out of its way to do it. But the movie doesn't go out of its way to do a lot of things.
Right.
No,
Like
it's
one of the things I find really fascinating about this movie is it does not ever talk about how rodeo is scored. Like
But it does stop every time to tell you the details of each sport.
of
Like,
each
That's
right.
true.
the
The
cowboy
good
But it never
commentator.
tells you
half
it
that
never
way, and
tells
it's like,
you why what they did was good.
yeah.
Like and I
Yeah.
think that's
over the
fascinating
time,
because
Yeah,
Yeah.
you learn a lot. You learn a lot about the sport, which is interesting. You know, it's like when you're watching it, there are these different competition, and you have to buy in, and there is a scoring system. You know, and it's all
oh, I can explain the whole scoring system to you. I watched a lot of rodeo at one point in my life. I got real deep into rodeo.
I never
But
got into
yeah,
rodeo. I've been to a few of them myself, just been to Salinas.
I
And
went to the Angola prison rodeo. That was fucking
oh,
wild.
amazing.
But the movie doesn't actually it does a lot of showing not telling, and I think that's especially for the time, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, a
Like
lot of location work. Although it's funny because it's like if this is being a Hollywood film, it balances location work out, like in the Tucson and things like that, with some egregiously Hollywood backlot stuff. When they
Mhm.
build out the trailer parks, you can see the backdrops in a lot of places just hanging
big time.
not lined properly and kind of like that. It's like it's
well
arcade.
and
So it's
and
like,
like
mhm.
every time you go to a different rodeo and they have a different announcer in a different booth, it's always the same fucking booth.
Right,
Like
right, it is. But
No,
yeah.
I can't imagine. I mean, like I'm guessing this was the kind of thing that the studios were just cranking out, right?
Right.
oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't. This
I mean Mitchum was in 75 of these movies.
was
Like
this an this was an A was this like would you call this like was this an A list an A picture or a
It
B?
was a picture. The thing is, it's RKO, so they borrowed all these guys from their contracts from other studios to be in this film.
So you think this was a big deal when it came out?
Yeah,
I think
most
this would
RKO films
probably
were
be
back
like a Memorial Day movie, not like a 4th of July
then. Mhm.
movie.
Right,
Like it's
right.
an
It's a
A
solid
picture.
entry, but
It's
it's
an
not
A
a.
I don't
picture,
know
but
if
it's a
that's one.
second tier A picture.
Mhm.
Which I missed some of this conversation there. I had to help bring the groceries in, guys. But
Oh, that's good. You're a good boy.
I am. I wanted to ask if we've talked about this yet, which is that when we actually stage those scenes at the rodeo, there's a significant drop in film quality because they're basically cutting to like second unit footage
Of a real rodeo.
of
And
a
look,
real
there's
rodeo.
the doubles in out there with the numbers.
The doubles are always backlit, so you can't see their faces.
And the doubles often are wearing different clothing.
It's pretty goddamn clumsy.
I didn't realize if you're in the back of a Bronco and it's going up and down, you see in your visual thing is like scratches.
Right.
It's like there's like
Yeah.
every time you've seen the footage go up and down, you're seeing the scratched up film.
I mean, it is an A picture. It's got big stars in it, but to me, those scenes are quite clumsy. They just and then they cut to the actor going like this, and you don't even see the horse.
Nope.
And then cut back to the stunt double falling down, or the actual.
I was
Yeah,
definitely
they're probably on a very slow mechanical bull and then shaking the camera.
Yeah.
I was
But
thinking
what do
they
you guys
grabbed it.
think of that? I mean, do you think that was just budgetary, or
No,
there's just no better way to?
put Robert Mitchum on an actual Bronco.
I'm just saying, was there no better
No, because
way?
he
at the
would die
time-
like he does. Like
Well,
Would
actually, here's the thing. Like, they say they're going to do. He's going to ride a Bronco or like a Brahma. It's him over the shoot. It's really a bull or a horse.
Yes,
He
Right,
really
and
gets
then
on
he
a
gets
real
a-
horse.
they really
They
did put the
really
actors
tie
on
up
the
his-
animals
They're going.
In the
they're tilting
shoot
up and
only,
down the
though.
entire
in
time.
the shoot.
Everything to the shoot. In fact, he says, "Let it go," and you can see him like Arthur Kennedy go out into the field. There's probably a tame horse he's
Mhm.
on.
Maybe.
But
Yeah.
he's going out. He's on a real horse and he's going on to the thing. Then they cut away to the stunt guy.
Right,
So
right.
what did
So they
what
do
did
a good.
have
They
to
try a
do?
fairly good job getting you up to that point.
What did they have to do
That's-
to get those
yeah.
high angles? Did they like have to build a fucking like rig to like slide the camera uphill and then like point it down at the, or did they like dig into the floor like in Citizen Kane? Like that's the thing. Like there's so many instances in this movie where they're doing stuff with cameras that I'm just not used to seeing from this.
Well, they
era.
probably have a complete fake rodeo shoot set where the whole thing was just dug out and there's rigs overhead. They can bring the lighting in the whole 9 yards. There's a scene near the beginning of the film where they pick up Robert Mitchum in that Jeep and they're driving along and it's a process shot. They're driving along and the
Yes.
background's going, and then he makes a turn and some stagehand moves the entire Jeep off to the side. It's like I've never seen him do that in a process shot. Actually move the car out of the scene. It's like
Really?
yeah, it was really
I'll have to
weird.
watch for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I noticed something. There's a scene when we're first when the two characters Jeff and Wes are meeting for the first time, and it's outside.
Sure, they have names. I believe you.
Yes. So I'll just say Robert Mitchum and Arthur Kennedy. So Robert Mitchum has like walked past the Jeep and he's leaving. He's going to climb back over the fence. It's his old broken down house where he grew up. And Arthur Kennedy says, "Hey, I know that guy," and he calls him out to him. And then there's a reverse angle where it's Arthur Kennedy and Susan Hayward in the Jeep, and you can see the reflection of Robert Mitchum at the gate in the windshield.
Uh-huh.
They didn't flop it. It's not a reverse. It's the exact same shot they just cut
funny.
away from, just superimposed on the windshield.
So they just put up a projection screen and projected him on there when they did that, probably.
Probably it's probably not even processing the
exactly.
like,
So
the
that's
camera,
fun.
right?
But you know, it's Hollywood film. We wouldn't even notice it. You know, I noticed it a lot of stuff in the trailers, and those trailers.
But that's like what makes this an A-level picture is how much money they spent on filmmaking.
Yeah, on
like
sets and like locations.
It's a lot of locations.
And getting this camera up here to look down on all of these extras carrying him away. Like there's a shitload of extras.
I wanted to mention another note about that early scene where he goes back and visits his childhood home, which is all basically almost completely falling down.
When he crawls under.
The old timer that lets him in the house and gives him a cup of coffee, and Robert Mitchum says, "I was born in this room," and the old timer says, "Ain't much to brag about." And then the old timer says, "Well, you're not like me. I'm 62."
Oh yeah, John.
Yeah,
he looks like he's
fucking well on. I love that.
So that actor was actually 68 when this was shot.
Oh, okay.
And would go on to have a long career of playing old men.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It was a needed thing, especially if you can remember your lines. But yeah. Oh, you know,
I'm going to be 62 in July. Just say.
So, love triangle wise, where did you think this film was gonna go when you were watching it as it progressed? Because it was
ironically exactly where it went.
Yeah, I like somebody's gonna die.
Yeah, I never thought she was gonna leave him unless he died. That was the one
Maybe
thing.
that was it, because he kept talking about how dangerous his job was.
Right.
Then it really would have been a mirror of The Hired Hand, right?
Yeah.
Well, and he does get rolled over by the horse, and it's like, oh, is this no? He's fine actually. I don't. Okay.
Well, and compared to what happens to Mitchum, I would argue that this guy's injury looked way more severe than what ended up killing him.
Yeah, but what kills him is something that can kill somebody very easily, which is having your rib dislodged and puncture your lung.
Your lung, but
like you don't die in the fancy Hollywood way that he died.
No, you don't.
Where he gets to
make your
over,
speeches.
Right, he gets to lean over to her and tell her he loves her, and then calmly go into nothing. You die like exhaling fucking foaming blood and not being able to talk
and choking.
Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mind you that when they got him off the field and took him into the little shack, which is I guess the first aid shack, he was bloodied up. I mean, they put the blood on the field. They cleaned.
I am surprised.
Somebody cleaned him up in that little shack. I'm not sure.
I'm surprised they didn't give him a cigarette while he was having that talk.
Oh, that would have been so funny.
But that's the whole idea about restoring the natural order. It's like, yeah, well, Mitchum had to go, or else she wouldn't.
Right.
Film basically.
He does get to declare his love in that scene, but I think that's almost superfluous because there's that great scene where they're at that party and Wes is just acting up and being a bad boy because he's got a taste of
he's
success.
chasing that blonde around.
Yeah. He's chasing the blonde around.
You're talking about when she pours the drink.
And then later
shoves her through the table, which is great.
Yep. But later in that scene, it's just her and Robert Mitchum out in the hall. And that's really where he declares his love for her. Yeah. He's like, I'm the traveling salesman, and if you don't want what I'm selling, you can just leave me at the door, you know.
Yeah. This is right after he said that don't worry about your husband. He's just chasing some tail. It's perfectly normal. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but that's the sort of, I mean, like in professional athletics, in a lot of other, you know, movie stars and stuff like that, music. How many songs are there about sleeping with groupies? Like
let's go back to the name of the film.
The Lusty Men.
The Lusty Men. It works in several levels.
Also in that scene,
there's several kinds of lust here.
Also in that scene I was talking about is that bit about all men lie a little bit, at least.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And so I don't think, even though I Googled feminist Westerns to find this, I don't think this quite reaches the level of feminist. She's a strong character.
In
but
1952, this is feminist as fuck.
It's
Oh, yeah,
about
sure.
as feminist
Yeah.
as it
Oh my God.
gets. But I
James
mean,
Bond
they are
does.
definitely responding to what these men want and
Yeah.
what
Oh,
they're
yeah.
going to do.
This is going back to like,
Although she always seems very like annoyed about it. Like she knows she's stuck with him because
Yeah.
of the way that society works.
Yeah.
But like she's very much like, Jesus fucking god damn it, you again with this shit. Like
Right.
I mean, she's trying to assert control from the very beginning. She's like says, don't let him be a rodeo guy. And
Well,
when that doesn't work, then it's like she tries to control.
$4,000 so we can buy a ranch.
Yeah, well,
yeah. Well, actually,
Oh, by the way, it's $5,000. And by the way, I looked it up, $58,000 in today's money.
that's not bad, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not too
But
bad.
I mean,
You used to be able to buy houses in this country.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well, mind you, also, he started out as his ambitions to be a rodeo star. Pappy's thinking it's not going to work. He's going to fail immediately because he sounds like a doofus who wants to do something he can't do, and he ends up being spectacularly good at it.
Well,
It's
he is
that
a
was
doofus.
that was unusual. That was like,
But he is also a doofus, right?
He's also a doofus.
The first time he rides and they go and they pick him up and he's like, how'd I get out here?
What
There's
happened?
a road out here. Like,
You want a bunch of
what?
money, dude? Like what?
Hey, I just thought of another dynamic, another movie where that has this same dynamic. It's Bull Durham talking about
Oh,
sports.
big time.
Yeah, a little bit,
Right?
little bit.
Big time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Tin Cup a little bit too.
There's also
sure.
some bits going back to that one
Most
scene,
sports movies.
that one scene at the party again. It's just like when they gave Susan Hayward, her character, a couple lines like with real colorful ones. Like it wouldn't, I can't remember them because they're pretty colorful. I think they wrote that for someone with maybe a Southern accent or something like that because
Yeah.
she delivered him, and I'm like, it just sounded like she was speaking Martian. It was really weird. It's like,
I get
but
you.
like I said, again, the characters around here, they kind of made her stand out. And what Tad said, maybe that was on purpose, but
Right.
it's just it added a level of weirdness to the whole thing.
Well, the way she plays to me is that maybe she was born in the East Coast somewhere.
Yeah, maybe she's
Grew up
New York.
grew up a little bit, like went to grade school, early grade school, and then her dad got a wild hair to go and ranch in the West or have
And
a
she was
farm
old
or whatever.
enough
or open a hash
She
place.
never picked up the twang.
Right.
Yeah. Or
And
open up a tamale bar in like New Mexico or something.
no, but I'm really thinking like follow me on this.
Okay.
Like I want to give up the workaday world of the East Coast. I'm in, middle management and I hate it. Like one of the movies we watched a couple weeks ago, and like they go out to the West and they have their farm, and then the Dust Bowl happens. And then that's where you get her stories about like living in a tent and all of that kind of stuff, is her teenage years in the Dust Bowl. And now this novel, I think, was written in like 46 or something like that.
Right.
So it's set somewhere in the late 40s, early 50s. She's in her 30s at this point. She's lived through a lot of
Time's out.
this stuff, and she has stability with this guy, and the stability with this guy is now shaken by this desire he has to go do this incredibly stupid, dangerous thing. Like, and I like it all tracked for me. Like it tracked for me that she would have the sort of Southern slang, and she would have the sort of understanding of the world, and that she never asks how the rodeo works either.
Nope.
It's like everybody in this society understands what's going on.
Right.
Whereas like if you and I were watching a rodeo together, you might be like, why did he get disqualified? And it's like, oh, because he touched the horse.
Right.
Like it's she is part of this world for whatever reason, and I think it works. Like I know you said you thought she was miscast earlier. I don't. I think the strength and the performance that she brings to this character completely shines through.
I want to subscribe to Tad's Dust Bowl headcanon for Susan Hayward's character and say yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
I mean, the story about living in tents and stuff like that is 100% Dust Bowl. Like that is
also at near the end. She says, she's getting mad at her husband and says, "You know what? This place stinks. This whole place just stinks." And you ever been to a rodeo? They are very smelly, very smelly. So I think she waited the entire movie to finally say it. At the
Dude, I used to live on the other side of the
Uh-huh.
hill from the fucking the Sonoma County Fairgrounds.
Oh, the fairgrounds, yes.
And when they had the fair and they had all the cows and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh, boy. Yeah, exactly. She wasn't kidding. Exactly.
It would just waft down the hill at like 6 o'clock at night. And
Yeah.
it's just like, well, we can't be in the backyard anymore.
No.
Like-
Also, I wouldn't again. I will not fault storytelling. It actually was really good.
Solid.
I watched
Yeah,
it
it is
beginning to
solid.
end. It was
Formula is fuck, but
it
that
really-
kind
it
of
was.
But boy, the characters and the dialogue really sell it. You know,
Yeah,
is this our first Nicholas Ray film ever on Yelling
I
About
think
Movies?
so.
Yeah, it is.
think so,
Damn, we
yeah.
gotta fix
Is that our
that.
first Mitchum?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
so too.
Yeah, probably. Well done, man. Well done.
Cool.
Good,
Yeah,
good
I enjoyed
pick.
that.
I mean, again, this was as opposed to the other one, which I felt was less than the sum of its parts. I felt like this one had all the elements. It executed it really well for 1952 standards. Star power like crazy.
Great.
Solid.
Now, good.
Pretty good watch.
A good proto-feminist film too. At one point, she says, "I'm sick of all men, and you get out of my life." Basically. So
And
that's
goddamn, I had never even heard of the thing, so I'm really glad that you know that
the title is
I know
bonkers.
that it still sounds like Bow Chicka Wow Wow, but you know,
yeah.
Nuts.
You noticed the name of the zip file, right, Scott?
yes, thank you. This is not porn. Yes,
It was also going to be called Cowpoke for a while it was in
They
pre-production.
should have
but-
called it Saddle Bums, but you know, that's just me.
I think
Yeah.
the original, sorry, I have to look it up. The name of the novel that it's based on, I think, is actually better. King of the Cowpokes.
King of the Cowpokes?
I don't.
King of the
Cowpokes.
Cowpokes.
That's all. That's
Yeah.
a producer saying that's way too much to put on a marquee. How about the Lusty Men? Like, all right.
Lusty Men.
Howard Hughes said that probably. You think about
Right.
it.
Right.
So okay, thumbs.
Yeah, no.
Solid.
Solid.
shit.
Solid.
Yeah.
Not all the way up, but
Although
pretty
it's,
good.
this has got to be a rarity. This isn't talked about at all. This is one of those.
I-
things-
no.
That's what I mean.
I don't think it's ever had Blu-ray.
But again, Mitchum was in 75 of these. Like they just made so many of these movies or movies like this that probably just gets lost. You know,
It's not remarkable enough in any specific way to sort of float up, but
right.